You may have a political patriotism, but we must have a cultural patriotism. That cultural feeling is not there. This culture comes not in one generation. Don't think that America has got a culture. It has to evolve a culture during the remaining 500 or 600 years. In 200 and odd years, they have not been able to evolve a mento-intellectual culture. All that I can say about the American society is that they are an open society. And this openness is primarily focused to have economic benefits and growth, political domination. Swamin namaste nataloka bandho.
Swamin namaste nataloka bandho.
Swamin namaste nataloka bandho.
Swamin namaste nataloka bandho.
Karunya sindho patitam bhavabdhau.
Karunya sindho patitam bhavabdhau.
Mamuddharatmiya kataksha drishtya.
Mamuddharatmiya kataksha drishtya.
Rijvyadi karunya.
Rajvyati karunya.
Sudhabhivrishtya.
Sudhabhivrishtya.
See, this is the manner in which we have evolved our culture. Our birth in the family is the birth of the body. Understand that it is the first birth that we have. And that birth is not an optional birth. It has just come to be there. We never know of it. Nobody has experienced or experiencing his birth. Never. Our mother one time tells us that you are born. You are my child. I am the mother. This is your father. We just accept the statement, that's all. We only know that we were, that we are. That is the feeling we have. So it is not a birth about which we have any experience at all. What the parents have said, we have accepted, that's all. But there is another birth. You call it the birth of the soul or the birth of the mind. Actually, birth of the soul, I am figuratively putting it, that's all. It is not the birth of the soul. Birth of the mind. That is an optional one. I always describe that when a person becomes a seeker and he goes to a guru, the whole event marks the real second birth of a man, of a person. Normally we are all born and we live. Mostly listening to the parents initially, thereafter we are admitted to schools. The teachers teach us several subjects. We grow up, become an adult. Either we get employed or we get married. Children are born, we become parents, grandparents, and finally we go to the grave. This is what happens. I don't think there is any basic thinking about why we are born, what are we supposed to do, am I doing the right thing? What is the goal of life? Is there any standard? Is there any norm? I don't think we inquire about all these things. That is why our Shastras say there is a distinct state in human life, a stage in human life where Athato Dharma Jijnasa. Now therefore is an inquiry into Dharma. Dharma. Dharma means righteousness. What is the right type of living? What should be the standards? What should be the styles? What should be the norms, values, disciplines and the like? Is there anything called dharma? What is that? That inquiry arises in our mind. Then we become moral, ethical, etc. Thereafter, all of you say, children do not listen to us, listen to us, listen to us. Because they don't have the inquiry. But people cannot wait for their own inquiry in order to adopt a good and a benign way of life. So they have to listen to the others. That is why our acharas and anushtanas have become very, very important in life. After some time, whatever they did, they will start inquiring into, evaluating, assessing and knowing. That takes place sometime later. After having been a dharmic person, there comes a time, athato brahma jijnasa. See, both are almost similar. Athato dharma jijnasa. Athato brahma jijnasa. Except the word dharma and brahma, all the other words are common in both. Now therefore is the enquiry into the supreme truth, the supreme reality. Brahman represents the supreme reality. This is the first sutra in Brahma Sutras, which consists of more than 500 sutras. Athato Brahma Jijnasa. There are many things spoken of in the way of acharas and anushtanas, formalities, disciplines, practices and what not. What are these for? What is their basis? What am I to understand? We are living in a world. I am interacting with the world. The interactions are with the world. What? The interactions are with the world. And the world is phenomenal. It is endless. It is infinitely various. I have got a small body, but I am interacting with the whole world. So in the whole process, for most people and for most of our lifetime, the interacted with world seems to be more important and more valuable. I don't know whether any one of you has thought. We have the smallest organ called the eyes, and with the eyes we are seeing. The moment we wake up in our bed, in the morning or otherwise, suddenly we begin to see. And the seeing process continues till you go to sleep again. What sees is our small eye. But what it sees is infinitely big. What did I say? The seeing eyes are very small and the seen world is very, very huge. But you know, we are so foolish. We are so constricted. We are so short-sighted that we think that the seen world, because of its infinite nature, is more important and the real than the seeing eyes and the seeing eye. First I said eyes, then I said eye. You tell me in this group, how many of you have thought in this manner? I have got a pair of small eyes, and these eyes are hosting, seeing, perceiving dimensions which are endless and huge. So you tell me, are the seen dimensions greater or the seeing eyes greater? चुप रहते हैं क्यों? बोलिए ना. But have you given any importance to these eyes? There also it does not stop. The eyes are not seeing at all. They only help us to see. See, I am seeing the whole room and so many people are seated in my front. My eyes are very small. The pupil of the eye, the seeing portion is very small. But with that small portion, I am seeing a huge expanse. That there is an expanse around me is determined and shown and revealed by the eyes. And the eyes themselves are made to function because of a mind within. And all the images are formed and registered inside the mind. So you tell me which is greater? Have you ever thought of it? That is why I said we are all fools. Fools of the first order. Throughout our interactions, the interactions proceed from us. The interactions end with us. And the interacted with comes only in between. All the interactions and activities are designed by the mind and initiated by the mind. And the interactions, while they are on, they are subsisting and resting upon the mind. They are not disconnected at all. And when they end up, they conclude and terminate in the mind to remain as memory. So you tell me, in the whole of interactions, which is the fundamental and ultimate factor? What is the source and what is the terminus? Is world the source? Is it the terminus? Or the seeing we ourselves? Boliye na. Why are you reluctant and shy? If the whole world is hosted within me, physically I cannot host it, but nevertheless the perception takes place within me. So what is inside me as the seer? Is it not far greater than the world? But have you ever thought about it? What is this? So are we fools or are we wise? I want an answer. Are we fools or are we wise? See, you are reluctant to say. See, we have no sense. We don't understand. That is why I said Dharma Jijnasa, Brahma Jijnasa. The enquiry into Brahman means the enquiry into the supreme reality. I am interacting with the world. In the whole interactional life, is the world the supreme or the interacting me, the subject, the supreme? This enquiry nobody takes up. So it has to be taken up, and very few people find it necessary or interesting. A question was raised in the satsang. Swamiji, how to make the youngsters interested in this? Let the youngsters remain. Let elderly people become interested. You go to Jamshedpur, go to different families, are they interested? I always tell students, if you pick up any spiritual subject, listen to any spiritual discourse or read a spiritual book, your mind and intelligence will be so sharpened that whatever takes 1 hour for you to read and understand, you can read and understand it in 40 minutes, if not in 30 minutes. I have told you earlier also. There was a boy, maybe he is even now, maybe in the United States, Raghu by name. He was about to appear for the BCom examination. He came to me in CARD Delhi and said, Swamiji, I am not able to focus on my studies at all. What happened to you? Have you not taken something? Have I given you a mantra? Yes. Are you chanting it? Yes. But what happened to you then? Are you doing it regularly? Not regularly. Regularly something else. I said, what can be done? So I thought and told him, Raghu, you do what I say. I want you to sit in a room after closing the door alone. Sit on a specific asana. Close your eyes. Interlock your fingers and put them on your lap. And then, I only want you to do this. Observe your mind process. Mark my words. Observe the mind process. Whatever the mind does, go on observing it. One portion of the mind can observe the rest of the mind. Go on observing it. Never interfere with the process. Don't act upon the process. Don't follow it also. Simply observe. How long? 20 to 25 minutes. But you should do it. What is his problem? His problem is a mind problem. A mind problem can be tackled only by a mind process, not by a physical process. By a diversion, mind cannot be handled. So you have to handle the mind at the mind level. So I said, sit, close your eyes, observe the mind process. Never worry about what takes place. It may be a thought, it may be a memory, a host of thoughts, a host of memories, many of whom you don't like. Some are frightening, some are displeasing, some are depressing. I don't want you to study or go into any such detail. Just observe. When I am talking to you, I am observing the face of all of you. Some people are nodding, some are keeping quiet, some are blinking and winking. All these I am seeing, but I don't interfere. In the same manner, you go on observing the mind process. And let me know after a week. He called me after 3 days. He said, all my problem is resolved. I am able to focus and have sufficient attention. My sensibility has grown, my attention has grown, I can understand. He cleared the examination and went to United States. I don't know what he is doing now because he is not in touch with me. This is what happened. And what did he do? He only went into the subject. What? What? Our interactions are with the world. And the world remains an object. We are the subject which calls the world the object, and we interact with the world. In the whole transaction or interactions, the subject is the first and the last and the middle factor. All your troubles are within the body, within the body, within the body. In the mind, in the mind, in the intelligence, in your ego. So unless you get into the mind, get into the intelligence, get into the ego, how can you set them right? So this is what I told you. When people come and ask me what shall I do to improve myself, I suggest this exercise. Because I cannot suddenly say I will initiate you, nor do they want it, and I don't want to do it. So one step short of initiation, I am putting them into this exercise. See, this is something very interesting. Why I am mentioning all this? Our culture is very, very unique. The inquiry into the supreme reality is a part of human life. When you feel like inquiring into the supreme truth, I am living, I am a family man, I have children, everything is okay. Ultimately, everything I have to wrap up and I go. So I do everything only to live. Then why am I doing? I am doing so many things only to live. So I would like to know what is the meaning and purpose of life. So this kind of an inquiry, it does not occur to many people. Krishna himself says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye. Out of thousands of people, only one man tries for anything like a spiritual pursuit. Yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tattvataha. Out of so many people who attain this kind of a siddhi, rarely one knows me essentially, he says. So how can we have large number of people to listen to Brahma Vidya exposition? I don't expect it at all. But one step short of Brahma Vidya, anything something like moral and mental refinement, ethical attunement, a national thinking, a global thinking, a societal thinking and concern, wanting to do something in a selfless manner, at least reduce selfishness, all these we can do. But when it comes to spirituality, don't think that all will be spiritual inquirers. If you are one, thank yourself and thank God. Even now, I am not very sure whether all of you really understand the merit, the glory, the supremacy of what you are doing in the form of listening to a spiritual discourse like this. I don't think you have a proper evaluation. One Swamiji has come, he is talking on Viveka Chudamani. Some people are going, let me also go. That's all. What is being exposed and what is the message? How to absorb it? If I absorb it, what is going to benefit me? What is the benefit? I don't think many of you have an evaluation. And we don't complain. Human beings are like that. We are not born of heavens. We are born of human mortals. Our parents were mostly people of the flesh. They were never people of the mind and heart or the soul. So we cannot expect normally a better heredity. But even then in our country, some mothers and some parents, mothers particularly, have given birth to lofty spiritual children. Lofty. I had a telephone call from Kochi a few months back. A mother who said, I was a professor, I have resigned my job, I am looking after the family, etc. And said, Swamiji, I want to narrate to you something. What is that? I have got a daughter, 12-year-old. One day she asked me, Mother, will you please tell me who am I? The mother said, "You are my pet and beloved daughter, and this is your father," and so many sweet and nourishing words. She heard, went away. After 2 or 3 months, she asked the question, "My dear mother, will you please tell me, who am I?" You also have daughters. You also have boys. Tell me, is there any boy in your family or a girl who asked this question? But this girl seems to be asking. I am not able to answer her. So I am thinking of coming to the ashram with the daughter. I said, "Please come." Of course, I had mentioned about it in my telecast. I don't know whether she has heard the telecast and felt bad. Actually, I am speaking with so much of joy so that others will come to know of this. I attribute it to the greatness and cultural glory of our country. I have only one remark to make. When the child suckles the mother's breast, milk is what it physically gets, but there is a culture also which it imbibes. That is the culture of the land. That is what makes her inquire in this manner. Another report is that one man telephoned me from a place called Kodamangalam. He said, "I have married very late. I am working in a medical firm. Myself and my wife, I have a daughter. All of us are going to the temple very regularly, religious, pious, etc., etc. I am listening to your Mukti Sudhagaram. I am so much benefited, enriched and elevated. Myself, my wife and the child, all of us are regularly listening to it. And my daughter, Swamiji, I would like to say, I don't want to say, but I would like to say, don't misunderstand me. My daughter says, 'My dear father, you go and take up sannyasa. Then only we will be liberated.' The daughter tells the father, 'You take up sannyasa, then only we will have moksha. You have given birth to me, you are my father, I am your daughter. Nominally it is okay, but please don't have any attachment for me. You must be free and liberated. And my being a daughter should not stand in the way. Nominally, be associated with me, it's okay, I am happy, but please look after yourself spiritually.' Can you imagine? This is what another daughter says. बोलिए ना, क्या होता है? बोलिए क्या होता है? On the other hand, have the elderly people ever told the youngsters, 'You are born of me, I happen to be your father and mother, but please don't be attached to me, you look after your seeking'? The elderly people do not say. So I say, we are all worried about the youngsters. I think all of you should be worried about yourselves. Amongst all this plurality you will find, one person goes to the Sadguru, finding that he is not able to make both ends meet, in the sense, there are so many loose ends in this world, he is not able to connect any one of them. Not that he was starving. Swamin namaste nataloka bandho karunya sindho padidam bhavabdhau mamuddharatmiya kataksha drishtya rijvyadi karunya sudhabhivristya. It is presented in such a beautiful line. This is the culture of the country. Have you ever taken any trouble to teach the children any of these things? Swamin namaste nataloka bandho. Hey Swamin, my dear revered sir, namaste. My prostration before you. Nataloka bandho. He addresses the teacher in this manner. Nata loka bandho. You are the sure friend and benefactor of those people who come and prostrate before you.